Sara Storer is the winner of 21, unbelievable, 21 Golden Guitar Awards, and the most recent of her 7 albums is Raindance. Her brother Greg released the album Backwater in 2010 and has been writing songs and performing for many, many years. Together, they have formed Storer and they have released the single Show Me. Hello, Sara, and hello, Greg.
G'day, Sophie.
Hello, Sophie. Hey.
And I wanted to start by saying you are both such strong storytellers. Anyone who listens to either one of your albums or all of them can tell that. So, Greg, a question for you. Who told you stories when you were young?
Yeah, well, for starters, it was my old man. He was a great yarn teller, and you know, these stories I'd heard 100 times. But if you ever met someone, you know, for the first time, or was, you know, just having a yarn with someone, he'd start into these stories that you've heard them 100 times before. I know everyone's old man's probably like that, but other than that, you know, we grew up with, you know, Chris Christopherson and Tom T. Hall. Tom T. Hall, he's right up there with, in my books, as a storyteller and a songwriter. And, you know, and then, you know, John Williamson and all the Aussies, Paul Kelly, you know. So there was, you know, no end of storytellers and you know, songwriters when we were growing up, that's for sure.
So when your dad told stories, did he like a lot of detail? Did he give you, like, did he fill out everything for you so you could picture it?
Absolutely. The crayons come out absolutely for sure when the old man was telling a story. So, yeah.
And quite apart from the music, Sara, did you like reading as a child, or did you both read as children?
No, not a big reader. I don't think Greg was a big reader either. Am I right? Correct there, Greg?
Spot on.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, we weren't big readers, not pushed to read either. It wasn't something our parents harped on about. We were pretty free and easy kids, just as long as we behaved ourselves, you know, we pretty much could just poke along as we like. And that even when we're talking about reading, I'm talking about music as well. If we wanted to learn an instrument, Mum would have driven into town and she would have provided that opportunity. But we, yeah, we just sort of, we're probably a lazy lot. The kids were too busy having fun outside and nicking over to Nan's, and you know, Nan lived across the road, and she lived up on top of a hill, big billabong, and we had lots of things to do on a farm. Mm-hmm. But with the storytelling, you know, to write a good story, to hear a good story where everyone just stops in their tracks and listens is really important. And whether it's spoken or through music, it's, you know, that's the clever thing. And that's how Greg and my job now is to try and do that. And sometimes, I don't know about you, Greg, but I'll wing it. Like I'll write something and I go, how the hell did that just happen? And it's such a good feeling, you know, your story starts, gets to an end, and it's all being done. And sometimes it's just by chance or by fluke. So sorry, Sophie, you're probably I'm way off the question now.
Not
this
at
is
all.
What happens when you have a red wine at this time of the day.
The reason why I wanted to start with storytelling is because both of you in your own music, I mean, you've made music together before this as well. Sara, you've been on Greg's album, and Greg, you've been playing with Sara and writing songs with her for a long time. But the hallmark of both of your music individually is this incredible storytelling and therefore sense of connection with the audience. So that's why I wanted to start by asking, because I don't ever think it comes out of nowhere, particularly when there's two of you in the same family who have it. So I just was really interested. So now I'm interested in, Greg, this is a question for you about whether you two listened to the same music growing up. And you've mentioned some of the music, but were you both listening to that?
Oh, Greg, sure. That was directed at you, mate.
Yeah, I think we were. I think yeah, I'm onto it. I think you know, we had a great music collection growing up. we had, you know, Mum could pick an artist a mile away. Like we had Neil Diamond, we had, you know, everyone was in our music, in our vinyl collection as kids. And so I think, and you've got to have, well, Sara taught me this, you know, many years ago, Greg, you've got to listen to the lyrics more, mate. And so I started doing that. And, you know, there was those songs that you'd been listening to for years on, like I drove a lot of tractor, I still do, probably not as much as I did as a kid, but I listened to a lot of songs over the years on the tractor. And when you actually look the lyrics up, as Sara said, mate, listen to the lyrics. It's all about the lyrics. It's all about the song. When you listen to the lyrics and you look those old songs up that you've been listening to for years on the tractor and not quite getting the lyrics and the song, it's all down to Sara. And the old man was a great yarn spinner, of course, and Mum's record collection. But without Sara, you know, I would still be clapping my hands, clicking my fingers, and going, geez, that's a nice little groove, isn't it? You know. So thanks, Sara. Good on you, mate.
You are back in the wheel, Greg. You're back there, buddy.
So it sounds like Sara was a very important musical teacher for you, Greg. And I'm wondering, therefore, if Sara, you started writing songs first, and did Greg learn songwriting from you, or did you both start writing songs around the same time?
I started with the excitement of writing my first song in Camberwell, and then just kept writing. And then when I'd go home to the family farm, I would sing the songs that I had written about what I was up to and about my life. And then, you know, a few years later, I got offered a record deal, and the excitement of that, and then telling my family, and everyone was just so excited. And for me, because we all love music so much, I think we all realized how it was kind of like a big dream for everyone to be in music. Everyone understood my excitement and understood how incredible it was that I'd been given a record deal. And so doing that, eventually, it was only a matter of time before Greg and I hooked up. I mean, I've written with my eldest brother, Doug, too. He's very clever as well as a writer. And he doesn't get enough credit, but he writes some great stuff. But Greg and I just, I guess, have just worked on bits and pieces. Maybe we're a bit too similar, and we worked on bits and pieces. Only a matter of time before Greg came along and joined in on the ride, and the ride just got bigger and bigger, and now we've made an album together. I knew it was going to happen way down. We talked about it for a while. We're so I don't know. What do you say? Just so, yeah, Greg?
Spit it out.
Oh, you know, we're a lot older, but who cares? Like music, the older we've got, I think the better we've got. I reckon we've come together at exactly the right time where we meant to be. If we had gone any earlier, I just think as you mature, there's a good time and a place to do something. And Greg and I have picked the perfect time to come together and do an album. Yeah, I don't know what I'm prattling on about here, but like.
But you've been, as far as I can tell, been writing songs together for at least 20 years. And so but Greg's been playing in your band. Anyone who's seen you play live will have seen him, and you appeared on his album. So yes, as you said, you've been on the ride, or he's been on the ride, and you've been on the ride together. But I guess now that you have created it together, what was the impetus to brand yourselves as Storer as opposed to remain separate artists?
I think because we wanted this to be who we are, our surname, who we are growing up as kids, who we are. Like, music is such an important thing in our world. I watch other artists, and sometimes I think, oh, you know, they're artists and they play music, but what's their love of music? How deep do they get? And I know that ever since we were kids, we just love music, and our dad and our mum both taught us that. And in particular, my dad, you know, that you've got to love a lyric and you've got to love a good tempo. And we've just been listening and listening and listening. And it's really important, I think, for Greg and I to come together and do this project as one entity, you know. We've got Bonnie and Pip, his daughters, that have jumped on. This is a Storer project, and this represents us as a family rather than as separate identities. We can go back and do our other identities later, but Greg and I had to work at this. We had to choose songs together. We had to write together. We had to work out who's doing what vocal where. Mm-hmm. It is one unit. And it was important that we came out of Storer.
And Greg, do you remember the very first time this idea came together?
Oh, probably, 6 months ago. Sara mentioned that we should do an album together, and it had been in the back of my mind for a long time. And so I jumped at the chance and said, "Yeah, that's a great idea, Sara." And then we both sort of sat down and said, "Hang on a minute, it's a whole lot of work, and you have to tour the thing, and so we thought about all that sort of stuff, and family and work, and in the end we said, let's do it." So I mean, you're a long time dead, and as Sara said, we've grown up as music was everything to us as we've been growing up, and I don't know where we would be without it. And so it's just, I think it was a no-brainer to do the album together and call it Storer as an entity, and bring family members on board. I mean, if we do another album, it more Storers might come on or whatever, but I think it's a really I just love it. I think it's just a lovely organic process we're going through, and I hope more family members get on board and we can do some more songs and do live shows, because we just done the Denny Ute muster, which was the girls got up there singing, and I just love that. I just hope we can do more of that and keep that sort of stuff going. Yeah.
So did your daughters volunteer to be on this project, or was there a bit of strong arming involved?
Pip has been writing songs, for a little while. I'd come into the house when Pip's been here, in between school and her gap year. She's now in the west coast of Australia having a gap year. Geez, I wish I was doing that too, Pip. But Pip had been writing songs and singing and performing at school, and so had Bonnie. So it just seemed like a natural thing to ask the girls to come down and just experience the recording process, and watching these people. You think you know something about music until you go to record an album, and you get around these people that are just unbelievable, and it's such a buzz. You come home on cloud nine after having 4 or 5 days in your studio with those types of people. It's just mind-blowing, really. And you realise just how much you don't know about the whole setup. But it was just seemed like a natural thing to ask the girls to come down and sing. And Pip took one of her songs down and recorded it, and wow, it's made the album, and it's a great little song. So it's just a bit of a buzz.
Sara, Greg just said earlier that it was about 6 months ago that this crystallized as an idea. Now, that is not a lot of time, really, in which to write songs, record them, get your head around a tour. But I know that you got all those golden guitars for one thing, but that suggests almost like this was a force that was waiting to happen, this project, that it was just this impetus that carried you along and got these songs made.
Well, we had talked about it a while ago, but it just by chance, it never worked out. And yeah, 6 months ago, we decided, are we going to do this? Maybe this is the time to get this album done. And we'd had, like, I'd put Raindance out, and then we had 2 years of COVID. So we both had that nice little sleepy moment of where we could catch up on writing songs. And so we both had our own separate songs. We both got together and wrote stuff as well. So everything was ready. We had the material. It was just the when we talk about, is this the time we're going to do the album? And we had to sit down and seriously consider it. Like Greg said, it's hard enough just on your own to get out there, but this is doubly as hard, because it might be okay for me to go out on the road, but it mightn't be okay for Greg. So we're both really busy. So, but we just went, you know what, who cares? It's music. And we don't want to sit back when we're 80 and go, we didn't do it. And we got all these beautiful songs that we never recorded. Who cares? Let's just give it a red hot go. If trouble ends up in a few months' time when one of us can't make it, we'll sort it out then. Stop worrying and let's get on with it. And you know, at the end of the day, we've got the songs recorded. We've got them down. Now it's just a matter of managing us and getting out on the road and touring. Yeah.
Well, Greg, you mentioned being on a tractor, and you are a working farmer, and my godmother was on a tractor for decades, and I would have trusted her to be able to fit any number of things into her life. I think when you are used to working like that, when you're used to being on a tractor at 2 a.m. as she used to be, and you undoubtedly have been, the idea of putting out an album and organising a tour is probably pretty straightforward.
Absolutely. Us tractor drivers are very practical people. We can get stuff done, you know. No, absolutely, and love all the love out there to tractor drivers and truck drivers, and you're in the mines working on working a digger or something. Good luck to you, and God bless you. I think, because you listen to a lot of radio and a lot of music over the years, and plus too, you do a lot of singing in that cabin on your own and honing your harmonies and everything like that. So no, but I can totally understand. You know, did you say it was your mother-in-law or my
godmother? Yeah, and then I remember once hearing her son. I was listening to the ABC local radio at about 8 o'clock at night to a quiz, and I recognised his voice. He was on the tractor calling in to answer the quiz. So it's like, yep, okay, this work never stops. Daylight means nothing.
The quiz is huge in a tractor driver's life. The quiz, you live for that, you know, keeps you awake. Lovely.
Now I should talk about the new song, the first song from this project, Storer. So Sara, what was the inspiration for the single Show Me?
I was inspired to write this a year ago. Just heard someone running another family down, kind of, and I just thought, wow, that's cheek coming from you, because really you don't have everything together yourself, and you shouldn't really judge a book by its cover. And so it's just a bit of it was a song I'd been wanting to write for a long time, and then I hooked in, and then Greg and I caught up. We did a little songwriting trip up here in the Territory, and really worked on that song to finish it off and get it nice and solid, and it made the album. And why we chose it as the first track, look, it's lighthearted, the music is upbeat, and it's got Pippi and Bonnie on it as well. So it is the four of us, which represents Storer. And, our stories come in all different shapes and sizes and packages. And it's not always about farming. Sometimes it's just about show me, about a lesson in life. It does mention our dad. There's always a bit of farming in there somewhere. And Dad gets a mention again. But, yeah, it's just, and it's really good for me, because every time I sing it, it's a little bit reminds me to behave myself too, and to remember to maybe just shut my mouth sometimes. If you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Well, that's the best quote philosophy, I think, that's going around, I reckon. Yeah.
I concur with that assessment, I've got to say. And Greg, James Gillard produced this track. So how did you come to choose him? I mean, he is very esteemed and experienced, but there are quite a few great producers in country music.
We love James and Shanley, and we've done some little runs with James and Shanley and over the years, and Look, years ago, we started going to Tamworth back when I couldn't play guitar, you know, and we'd go up to Tamworth from Robinvale near Mildura every year and sit there and watch these musicians, and you're just going, my God, how long has this been going on? And quite often James was in the band, you know, so we've been watching James for years, and then you learn over the years, you know, he's played for Mondo Rock and played for Jimmy Barnes, and he's played for every bugger. So he's quite a Aussie icon, really, in the music circles. So you know, it was really just a go-to person for producing the album, and man, when we got down there and into the studio, James just shone through as. They were long days, and those fellas, just worked their butts off for what they were doing. Yeah.
Now, we temporarily lost Sara, but I'm sure she'll be back. She's moved. And in the meantime, I will say to you, you just mentioned how you couldn't play guitar at a certain point. When did you start?
No, well, I didn't start learning guitar until I was 25. I think I realised my footy career was going nowhere due to injuries and everything else. So I thought, oh, what else can I do? And actually, my mum rang up for me. She said, Greg, I've got you some guitar lessons. You're going Friday afternoon. I thought, really? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it's the best thing I've ever done. But thanks, Mum. So I just went up to Mildura, and this old pommy bloke and me, we'd sit there, and in the end we just end up jamming for half an hour or an hour or so, and it was the greatest thing, you know. And God, I thank Mum every day for booking me in for guitar lessons. Sara was already mucking around on guitar and, you know, writing a few songs, so I had some catching up to do. I still can't play very well, but, you know, I get by, sort of thing.
Well, you've obviously played well enough to be playing with her for all these years. So, Sara, I'm gathering it wasn't your mum who got you to play guitar the first time.
No, it was a mate of mine from a family friend. She knew a few chords on guitar, and she showed me, four chords, and I still only know those 4 chords, by the way.
I am sure that's not true.
It's fairly true. I'm really basic on guitar. At least Greg sort of learn a few more tricks along the way, and so when we're out, he can cover for me. He can do a little bit of the lead stuff, whereas I'm just rhythm. Rhythm is just basically the background music, whereas Greg will play the lead and do the fancy bits to make it sound like the song and play those hook lines. So I haven't got time well, that's why I don't pay you. That's why you know, I might fix you up with a beer at the end of the night.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
And
well, you may need a lot of beers in January because you're playing Blazers in Tamworth, which is quite a big venue. And so it'll be a big show. Greg, what are you looking forward to about playing in Tamworth next year?
Cannot wait. And I'm looking forward to adding a few of these new songs to our set list, and just really cranking it out there for whoever's paid money for a ticket and sitting in the audience. And I just hope we just put on a great show. I can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And Sara, after Blazers, there are actually several more dates booked in, and I'm impressed with the two of you having a lot on in both of your lives that you have managed to do this. As you said slightly earlier, if something comes up, you'll manage it, but you've still been able to organise it this far out. So I'm guessing you're looking forward to having some booked in time with your brother on the road.
Oh, it'll be so much fun. Yeah. it seems challenging at the time, packing your bags, leaving kids, sorting out who's doing what, who's picking them up, you know, all of that. But then when you're out there, you sort of forget all that, because, you know, you just leave that to the person who you left behind, which is your husband. He can sort all that. But you never report in that, you know, you're having a lot of fun. You always report in that it's really tough being on the road. You've had no sleep.
Yeah.
There's burnt schnitzels, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let them know.
Never again.
Never again. But then out the door we go, and then I reckon I do a little click of my heels as I head out the driveway. I tell you.
And Greg, of course, reports back that he's only been paid in one beer, and it's been a terrible experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, all they paid me was hot VB and a cold chop, and it's terrible.
Well, so Sarah, what I do want to know is how you rehearse, given that you and Greg are in different places, or do you just come to Tamworth a little bit early and book in some time?
Well, that's interesting. I think we'll have to set up a rehearsal with the band, and we do that as time gets a bit closer and says what day's free. Let's do a rehearsal. They're all new songs. I think we're going to have to do it. We normally do a rehearsal, but this is a no-brainer. Because they're all new songs for the first time. Yeah, we'll be doing that. But if it was Greg and I, we probably just get into town, run the show ourselves in the motel room and wing it. We actually should have named ourselves Wing It instead of Storer, I reckon.
Well, maybe Wing It can be the support act. It's just going to be a different version of the two of you.
Wing It, followed by Dodgy, followed by Storer.
With the band, you know, the intros and the outros are always just on the knocker, you know, bang, with the endings of songs. But with me and Sara, the endings could go on for minutes, you know. And we never finish the same.
Because we look at each other and we nod. That's it. We're done. Yep, ready to end. And then Greg will end, and I'll keep going. So Greg starts up again, and I stop, and then he goes, and that is our end. We call it train smashes.
Well, I'd suggest your audience is getting a great experience then, because it's like extended remix versions of each song.
Oh, we don't let them in on it. It's all part of the show, folks. We know we've screwed up, but they don't.
Well, I highly doubt anyone would detect any screwing up at either of any of your shows, rather, or on any of your songs. And I just realized I've had you talking for quite a long time. It is nighttime. You no doubt have things to get back to. And Sara, you've got that lovely territory light going on. So
the kids have come home from footy and they've flicked that on. So excuse the dog barking and the mum. I'm hiding out the back, but they found me with the light, and they realise now mum's up to something. She'll get cranky if we interrupt.
Right. Okay. Well, should let you get back to them anyway, because I could talk to you both for hours. I'm sure there are many, many stories. So perhaps I'll catch up with you once the album's out and hear some more stories.
Thanks, Sophie. Yeah, we'll be able to chat about the songs. There's some great songs on there. I can't wait for everyone to hear the new songs. It's like I said, it's 2 years of writing, and it's Greg's songs and my songs, collaborations, and we had to pick 12. And so they're very special to us and they mean a lot. So we can't wait to share them all with you.
Well, you both separately, as I said at the top, such incredible songwriters and performers. Your albums are so meaningful, and sure for all of your fans. So to have the two of you together is really special for us as listeners. So I can't wait to hear the album, and I hope to talk to you both then. Greg, Sara, Storer, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sophie.
Sophie, thank you.